I love LA on a Sunday morning. I drove here with no traffic. I left California in 2018. I miss it though. How many people don't live in California? Okay, like 30%. Okay, that's a lot. Good. All right. I'm going to share some stuff for Albert's group that I haven't shared really that much. So I'm going to give you some stuff people haven't heard. I've talked a little bit about this, but I want to bring you some new stuff. Let me grab a marker. I may need a marker. I guess I can draw with my finger. Put some ink. Anybody have an eagle feather? I can write on here. Yeah, I need a pen. You got one? I think I might need one of them thick markers. Okay, so here's what I want to talk about. Trends.
We'll have it right now.
Yeah, it's no rush. Yeah, no rush. Trend catching, or what I call trend stacking. If you look at how people, who here's goal is, who thinks they're underperforming their net worth? You should have more. Now, by the way, some people aren't, who thinks they're underperforming? Like, you have the skills, you should be making double the money you're making. Okay. Who thinks they're overperforming their skills? Nobody? Nobody? Okay. By the way, it's better to be lucky than smart. Never forget that. So, if you can figure out a way to make more money than you deserve, I want to hang out with you. Napoleon, the general, they got a new movie coming about it. You know how he picked his generals? The dudes that stood closest to the battle, and all their friends got killed by cannons, and one dude would just be standing there. And Napoleon's like, I want that guy to be my general. He says, better to be lucky than smart. So I hope all of you, my blessing for this group is for the next 12 months, may you get more than you deserve. I say that to myself because you still, look, to get what you want, you do have to deserve it. But there's a lot of luck. And so your job, here's a pie chart of success right here. Here's a pie chart. We'll just divide it in thirds, let's say. Okay. That's not the best pie chart. Okay. We can do force. So I would say this one right here is you, your activity, what you do, the largest part. Genes. Genes do play a part, but they're not everything. But never ignore, like people get too delusional. Genes do matter. I was at an event yesterday speaking, and there was a guy there that was 7'1" who played for the Lakers. Nothing we do. Is anybody here 7 foot? If you're 7 foot, you have like a 75% chance of playing pro basketball. That's just genes. You're just born that way. I interviewed Shaq for, I bought bodybuilding.com, and my first podcast I did with Shaq. And I brought one of my friends with him, and Shaq walked in the room, and my friend's like, dude, that guy's not even the same species. If you ever been around, I've been around some big guys. Shaq is like insanity. I have a pair of shoes of his, and they're that big and about that wide. So that's genes. There is a gene or a set of genes that help you make more money. 75% of the wealthiest people in the world had parents who were wealthy. Now, a lot of people misinterpret that and say, oh, their parents gave them money. No, their parents gave them genes. So if you I didn't come from, my dad was in prison in Long Beach here when I was born. And so I wasn't born to millionaire or billionaire parents. So you're going to have to work a little harder if you don't get those genes. But you can overcome your genes. But don't ignore them, okay? Now, the other two, if we're going to do, so let's say this is 50%. And let's just call this, 15 or 20%. Here is luck. There's just some luck. Why do some people get richer than others? Some of it's luck. Let's call that roughly 20%, 15 to 20%. Who knows what this one is right here? Work ethic. I put that in the activity part.
Surrounding.
I like my man. What's your name? Alexis. Social circle. So one good thing, I know Albert has a mastermind. You should get into those kind of masterminds. Like my Here in My Garage video, I was in a mastermind at a dinner in 2014. And some dude sitting next to me, I wish I could find that guy. I owe him. He just looked at me, he's like, dude, I think you'll be good on YouTube. And there's a new thing called YouTube ads. And I was like, At first I was stubborn. I was like, I don't need that. Because I had been doing I was in the beta program of Facebook ads. I've been doing Facebook ads for years before that. And then I thought, don't be stubborn, Ty. And I remember it was October 2014. 2 months later, December, I finally got with it, started to make YouTube ads. I made a Lamborghini one with my best friend, and it didn't convert at all. I spent like 20 grand and made back like $1,000. I was like, fuck, just lost 19 grand, you know? I was using my activity. I was working hard, but I didn't give up. And next month, January, like 24th, started making like 100 G's a day net. Okay, I dialed it in. But that was not just my activity. That was also my social circle, that person. You don't have all the answers within your brain. Who here feels like things are going too slow? It's going too slow because you're not hanging out with the right people. You get stuck in your social circle. It's a big deal. And the more successful you become, the harder it is to find that social circle. You know, luckily I'm in business with two guys now that are on the Forbes list, 2 billionaires. I learn a lot from those guys. They're tough motherfuckers, I'll tell you that. I don't recommend, in hindsight, don't really get in business with guys on the Forbes list. If you swim with the sharks, you can get bit. Don't be surprised. But one thing I've learned from them is they also control their social circle. You know, one of my mentors is a guy named Tillman Fertitta. He owns the Houston Rockets. Anybody like basketball? Yeah, he bought the team. He once gave me advice that is the least practical advice. You all want advice of a billionaire? What he told me? I'm going to give it to you. It's going to be the most helpful advice you got on this whole 3-day conference. He said, Ty, you always need to keep $600 million in cash. He was serious. I was like, bro, you're disconnected from this world. He's like, 600 mil. He's like, keep it there. That's how he bought the Houston Rockets. He's like, I always keep like 600 mil in cash. I saw the team was for sale. And I called up the NBA and I said, I'll put 100 mil non-refundable deposit today. Non-refundable. And then he said, in 30 days, I'll bring you $2 billion. Okay. Takes big balls, boy. 100. Who here is going to do a non-refundable 100 mil? Sometimes I have like a high ticket. I'm one of the highest paid like mentor consultants. I charge between 100 grand and $1 million. Sometimes people are like, Ty, is it worth paying you $250,000? I'm like, no, you don't have what it takes, man. I'm hanging out with dudes that are dropping 100 mil non-refundable deposit. And he didn't have the full $2 billion. He had to go raise some of it. But the point is, by me changing my social circle, it ups my expectations. So now I know when I got to do something and it's going to cost me $500,000, I'm like, Ty, don't be chicken shit. Like, don't be afraid. Who here is a little bit too fearful in their life? Be honest. This is also a genetic thing, risk-taking. Hold up your hands, everybody. I could read, it's a little dark, so I can't see all of you, but you got high testosterone. Let me see your hand. Yes. You're balanced. More estrogen. Do you cry in movies? You do? There you go. I read people for a living. Let's see. Are you right or left, though? Right or left-handed? Right, sorry. High testosterone, more. This group, yes. There's a lot of aggressive people in this room. You know, actually, people who are from, in the front, but people who are from, like Latin American people are one of the highest testosterone naturally. Because I have a mentor, she's a scientist. She's actually the chief scientist for Tinder. She has the most data on basically humans in history. But like 10,000 years ago, most humans lived in Asia. There was a bridge, if you remember, to Alaska, and the water level dropped. So a group of the most risk-taking group left Asia, came across Alaska, went into North America. That's all the Native Americans, and then went into Central America all the way to like Brazil rainforest. And when they study people, that's the highest level of aggression. That's why I used to own nightclubs. And I had all these huge black guys that ran my security. One of them was 7'2". He weighed 500 pounds. He was a good security guy. But once in a while, people would try to get me to like subcontract my guys for their nightclub. And there was a Mexican bar. And I called up Chris and I was like, yo, Chris, can you guys go do security? He's like, fuck no. He's like, those Mexican dudes will stab the shit out of me. He's like, little Mexican. He said the only guys that ever have tried to fight him is like 5'2" Mexican guys. And he's 7'2". I said, if that guy stabs you and you fall on him, you may kill the guy. But he's like, those guys have no fear. And now scientific, so I'm not surprised. I'm like that too. So anyway, I don't know why I was talking about that, but it's a funny, oh, I know. It's because this is a lot of, how many people here are not Latino or Latina? Yeah, like 10%. You're black, you're basically Latin, man. It's the same shit. I did my DNA. I'm 7% African. I used to be 6%. Somehow I became 7. So I'm like 40% from my grandpa's from Spain, and I'm 9% Puerto Rican, and I'm like 50% white. My mom's white, German, but I look like my dad. Nobody guesses. I go to Germany. People are like, you don't look German. I'm like, I can show you my DNA. Has anybody here done their DNA test? You really should do your DNA. Who here studies their ancestors? You need to study your grandparents, your grandma, because genes has a big effect on you. And I would actually say this is higher than 15%, but for the graph. So one of the things that people do wrong trying to make money is do things outside of their destiny, genetic destiny. Everybody here, you have kind of a genetic destiny. Now, of course, you can manipulate it a little bit, but for example, the way you can now make money in almost any way. You're a musician, you can make money in music. You used to not be able to. Painters, musicians, very few ever made money. Now some of the richest, Taylor Swift is a billionaire. That never, 40 years ago in human history, there was never a musical billionaire. Nothing. But you read about Beethoven, these guys were broke all the time, most of them. Literally like living day to day, paycheck to paycheck. So one of the things that I tell people, when you're underperforming your net worth, you may have forgotten about your genes. Ask your parents about, what was my grandma like? What was my grandpa like? I'm very into psychology. People don't realize that. It's like my number one thing is I don't read that many business books, but I read a lot of psychology books because ultimately making money is reading people. My grandfather was kind of a famous psychoanalyst in Germany. I didn't realize that till I met my mom's cousin. He's like 70. And my grandpa died. My mom's dad died before I was born. And I was like, what was my great-grandfather like? He's like, he would always try to read you. You walk in the room, he'd be like, he said he's the first person that ever asked my mom's cousin, are you happy? And he was a deep guy. And I realized I have a lot of that tendency. So here's something to do. Who here has some fucked up genes? Like somebody who was crazy, bipolar, murdered people. I got that part of my genes too. Claim your good genes. Like, yo, I'm like my grandpa. You know? Disown the ones that aren't there. Although, you got to even pay attention to those. Who here has somebody who went to prison in their family? Okay? That gave you the aggressive gene. Most aggressive population in the world. If you want to see high testosterone alpha men, everybody on social media is talking about alphas. I'm like, bro, you really want to be around alphas? I'm like, when I was a little kid, I used to go visit my dad in Terminal Island. There's a lot of alphas there. You don't want to hang out with them. But I'll show you this. Anybody ever heard of this? SSG? Write this down. That's this. Self-selected group. So when I had y'all raise your hands, I bet you the highest testosterone or risk-taking group is in the couple. Did you guys have to pay more for these tickets? Yeah. Yeah, it's like consistently. Everybody raise their hand in this one here? Right, your dominant hand. Now see yours. They already do yours? Yeah, you high tested. Yeah, every man is pretty insane. Every guy in here, you can tell it's called digit index ratio. It's not astrology or palm reading. It's like there's a ton of science on this. This finger is testosterone on your dominant hand, and your pointer finger is estrogen. I don't have a lot of estrogen. Nobody ever meets me and says, "Oh, Tai, are you a male or a female?" Like, you know, I got that from my dad. My dad had no fear. My dad, you can actually have too low. My dad had no fear of anybody, which can get you in trouble. For those of you, let me see this side. It has like every guy, not the women. Yeah, you got a little. You ever punch somebody? What's your name? Yeah, Marisol. You have punched somebody. I knew it. I can read people. Don't ever, just because she's a woman doesn't mean she hadn't killed a motherfucker. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I don't think, you've never hit anybody, have you? Have you ever punched somebody? Who? Him? Are you together? Sometimes. Wait, put your fingers together? Yeah, you got testosterone. Yeah, this is a risk-taking group right here. Yeah, if you ever need a hitman, you might want to call her right here on the front. You got a funnel for that? Need a hit? Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's switch subjects for a second. Catching trends was the first thing I said. And here's the biggest trend, I think, in the world. Okay? Money is dead. I'm going to give you 4 reasons or 3 reasons why money is dead. And I'm specifically talking about the US dollar, okay? When I say money. Wealth is not dead, but money is dead. Who here would rather have money coming into their bank account or rather have wealth? Big difference. I was just in Bel Air yesterday speaking at this little seminar for these female CEOs. And when you drive up there to Bel Air and Beverly Hills, a lot of those people don't have that much cash flow necessarily. Because in California, I left California because I was paying 52.5% taxes. Make $1 million, you got to give the government $520,000. It's bullshit. This is crazy. First time you write a big ass check to the IRS, you'd be like, I'm leaving California. But anyway, that group in Bel Air, they got wealth, but not necessarily money pouring in every month. And a lot of entrepreneurs are too focused on money, not wealth. So let me explain. So money is dead. Here's the 3 reasons. Inflation. Now, the government just put out that inflation's dropping to 4%. Who believes the government? You want to know something funny? This went viral on Twitter. One of the big economists from the government put out, inflation dropped under Joe Biden. They had an asterisk. Okay? They had an asterisk. It still says my shirt's not tucked in. Okay. Always have someone doing public speaking, preferably a female that's sitting in the front and be like, tuck your shirt in. Never guys. Guys will let you have like fucking shit in your teeth and they'll never tell you. Anyway, Joe Biden said, his economist put out, inflation's dropping. And it had an asterisk disclaimer. It said, excluding rent, fuel, and food. I'm like, what the fuck? That's what I care about. That's what everybody cares about. So inflation, in some ways, is as high as 20 to 30%, man. Look at food. Food over the last 5 years is up way more than 30. Eggs, I've seen $12 eggs in Whole Foods. I remember when it was $4. That's more than 30% a year. Number 2, taxes. America's getting crazy with taxes, especially in California. Number 3, who knows the 3rd reason money's dead? The what? Yeah, printing, which causes inflation. But you got other factors. What's another thing that destroys countries? Supply and demand, but also, war. We got 2 potential wars happening in America. In the world that America might get involved in. Ukraine, Russia, and Palestine, Israel. And empires specifically fall during wars. So just remember, before 1917, in the Western world, what was the dominant country? Europe. Specific country. England. England had ruled the world from the 1500s. After World War I, they lost their power. America came on the rise. In Europe, you had Austria had an empire called the Habsburg Empire from the 1500s. At the end of World War I, 1917, lost their empire. Nobody's ever heard of the Habsburgs anymore. 400 years they ruled. Then you had the Romanov Empire, 1500s. That's the Russian Empire. 1917, Bolshevik Revolution. They shot the whole Romanov family. The little girls, the kids, they killed them all. That's when communism started. So wars end empires. So the US dollar, if you get into a weird war, can just become a nightmare. So if your main goal is to build monthly cash flow and money, and that's your only plan, money's dead. It's dying every day. Now, let me show you an important timeline of wealth. Who's here reading books? You know? People sometimes fucking argue with me about books. I'm like, are you an idiot? Like, people go, you don't need books, you just need to do it. I'm like, well, you need to do stuff too, but I ask them, do you think you need mentors? Almost everybody agrees you need mentors. Even billionaires that I know are like, yeah, you need mentors. I interviewed Kobe Bryant. He's like, mentors. He's like, Michael Jordan, you know? And so I ask him, when people say, you don't need books, I'm like, hey, fucking dipshit. Do you think you're smarter than Einstein? No. Would you like to be mentored by Einstein? Sure. He's dead, so you have to read a book about him. So books are dead mentors. So, of course, it would be ideal if you had a time machine, just go back in time and learn from Rockefeller or learn from whoever you want, Aristotle, Socrates, Plato, but they're dead. So some of your mentors need to be alive. Like you got Albert, he's alive. But some of your mentors are going to be dead and you use books. So the reason I read books is I can see trends early because history basically repeats itself. So watch this. Here's the timeline of money in the world. Let's not go back too far or it'll be too long of a talk. Let's just go back about 120 years, okay, to 1899. So here's 1899 and here's 2023. Can everybody see? You guys can see this, okay, right? Okay. So let's just divide that up into like 60-year increments, all right? So 1899 to around 1960, 1960 to around 2020, and then we'll go the next 60 years. It goes off the chart. So this is called the third wave. You want to catch the third wave if you want to create wealth. Everything goes in threes. Let me give you an example. Social media. What was the first social media platform? Anybody remember the name? Before MySpace. Friendster. Friendster. Most people here, you don't remember that. But Friendster, if you just Google it, was the first big one. I had a friend, it was kind of before my time, but I had a friend who was like big on Friendster. The guy who started Friendster was offered $30 million to buy it, and he said no. And then it became worthless, and he became alcoholic. I don't know if he killed himself, but it's a sad story. He was in the first wave of social media. You don't make much money. You make a little bit of money. 30 million is not bad, right? No, yeah, 30 million's adjusted to now is like 60 million. Nobody would be mad about 60 mil, right? But it still wasn't the most one. So the first wave in social media was Friendster. What was the second wave? MySpace. Believe it or not, Tom, the founder of MySpace, is in my 67 steps. He's a big fan of mine. I met him once. It was he started coming to my house. He told me the whole story. He was Alexa rank 1. He had more traffic in 2005 than Google. Shit. And they eventually sold for 500 mil. And he made money and retired. And I used to play, did anyone ever see my live calls with him? I used to play basketball in Beverly Hills, and Tom from MySpace was there. He's an interesting guy. But that was the second wave. You make pretty good money. Selling a company for 500 mil is pretty good. But third wave, what's the third wave of social media? Facebook. He turned down $1 billion. And nobody's really, if you age adjust, Mark Zuckerberg's the most successful person in modern history. Because he was worth like, what would you rather be? Warren Buffett, you're 94 and you're worth 100 billion, or be 34 and worth 60 billion? Better. You don't want to be one of those Beverly Hills guys. You live in Beverly Hills, you go to a restaurant, Some dude would pull up with a pretty girl. He's 99 years old. She'd get out, bring him his walker. I'm not even joking. This dude would get out with a walker. I was like, I don't think a Ferrari is helping you much anymore. But so third wave, you want to catch the third wave. So let's look at the third wave of the economy. Okay. So in the first wave right here, people, if you wanted to create wealth, what did you need? You ever heard the saying, it takes blank to make money? It takes money to make money. This was the money or capital economy. If you did not have capital, you would be poor. Very few people were rags to riches stories. Rockefeller had so much money. Rockefeller and Carnegie, that was the rise of the capitalist. So you had Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan. In the early 1900s, American economy got into trouble. You know what they did? You know what the president of the United States did in around 1910, right around there? They called three guys, Rockefeller, Carnegie, and J.P. Morgan, and said, will you lend us money, the United States? These guys were such big capitalists, they could help the United States. That's where the Federal Reserve came from, by the way. After that, America formed the Federal Reserve so they wouldn't have to borrow money from three dudes. So this was the capital or money economy. That's wave one. That lasted till Henry Ford was there. Okay. Then 1960 to let's say about 2020, the second wave started. What do you think this one? What did you need to make money and wealth? What'd you say? Closer, warmer. You need skill. This is where Bill Gates came from. This is where the software billionaires, 90%, I can pull this up on a screen. If you go to the Forbes list now, 80% of the wealthiest men in the world were born in this time, around this time, and they all made it with like some highly skilled thing, like software. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Wozniak, these people were sitting there. Bill Gates said from age 20 to age 30, he never took a day off. He worked 3,650 days straight, locked himself in a room. They wrote code. They built Microsoft. Okay? So how did you prove you had skill, by the way? What's a piece of paper that helps you show you have some skill? Diploma. This was also the diploma economy. Man, if you were born in 1970, 1980, you didn't have a diploma. You weren't dropping out of college and doing well. All the wealthy people from that time either had a diploma or went to like Harvard. And maybe they dropped out, but they went a couple years. So back in and that all the way is up to a couple years ago. Elon Musk went to college. Even Bill Gates and Zuckerberg, they went for a while and then dropped out. The richest guy I know is a guy named Steve Ballmer. Anybody ever heard of him? Him and Bill Gates, he's worth $95 billion. He owns the Clippers. Okay? He went all 4 years to Harvard. He wanted that diploma. Okay? But now Elon Musk even just recently said, you don't need diplomas anymore. So now this is first wave. People made money. Second wave. But let me tell you, whoever catches the third wave is going to be the richest people in the world in history. What do you think the third wave is? Online, AI. Attention economy. Attention economy. Now you might say, no, Ty, I think it's still skill-based. Who's the richest man in the world right now? Richest person in the world? Elon Musk. What did he recently pay $44 billion to acquire? Do you think that gives him more attention from the world to own a platform? Every time he posts, if you look at impressions, he gets 1 to 5 million, sometimes 20 million impressions. Let's say half of them are unique people. So he's getting 1 to 10 million people seeing him per post. He posts 10 times a day. Sometimes. He can reach literally a continent every week. A continent. Hundreds of millions of people see his stuff. It's insane. So, and it wasn't really till he got big on Twitter that he became the wealthiest person in the world. Or on social media. Even before he owned it, he really started. I had a conversation with him in LA in 2016. And back then he's like, I don't need Snapchat. I just build a good product. He told me this face to face. We used to go to the same events. And he asked me, he's like, Ty, do you think I should have Snapchat? That was when Snapchat was big, to grow Tesla. And I said, absolutely. It's going to be important. And I talked for like 10 minutes. We were at a little movie theater and he's like, nope, I don't agree with you. He's like, I don't need it. Build a good product and it'll go viral. He was kind of right, but so was I.